This is a video about job searching. My colleague Jonathan Torres and I are going to be doing this for you today. Everything we say here is based on our library guide, which is located at libguides.rutgers.edu/jobs, and that is the best information we have about job searching. So that's there 24/7. I would also like to invite you to look at libguides.rutgers.edu/business for over 85 business guides. And especially if you are new to doing business searches, this business guide will help you a lot. So let's take a look. First of all, it starts with you. The first thing you should do is contact the Career Development Center, and that information can be found under the Help tab in the Jobs Guide. And then there is also information on the guide about the difference between a curriculum vitae or a resume. And it's important to know the difference, because if you're going into the business world for the first time, you do need a resume, which is a rather short document. But if you're going to be looking for a job in certain other places, such as academe or the grantsmanship area, anything like that, you're going to need a curriculum vitae. So we have information on our guide about that as well. And then definitely when you contact the Career Development Center, let a career advisor help you to create effective CVs or resumes. And you might need more than one CV, and you might need more than one resume. It's possible that if you have several different branches of your job search, you would want a document for each one.
And of course, you would use a cover letter to fill in the details for a particular job. But just keep that in mind.
For some people, figuring out what you want to do is your first step. So we have a tab called Explore Career Options, and there are a number of different items there. You can take advantage of them. We have a career interest game. We have a self-directed search. Please feel free to talk to Jonathan Torres, jonathan.torres@rutgers.edu, or me, Roberta Tipton, tipton@rutgers.edu. And we're going to go live now and look at some databases, Business Source Premier, and also IBISWorld. So one moment, please. We're going to switch over. Okay, here we are on our job searching guide. There's the Explore Career Options page that we talked about before. We're going to start with surveying the industries. And we find that a lot of students, when you ask them, where do you want to work? They kind of draw a blank. They may be able to think of a big company or something like that, but they don't generally think about the industry. And if there's one piece of advice we always give, especially to business students, but to any students, it is try to explore and spend some time thinking about, well, what industry would I like to be in anyway? And that will help guide your searching for information, what you read every day and every week to get ready. And the other thing is that it will give depth to your job interview. So if somebody asks you a question that is outside the company page, which is what everybody looks at, everybody goes to the company webpage and they look at that and they think they're prepared for a job interview. But doing an industry view gives you a little more information and good things to talk about during an interview. So we're actually going to begin with the everything place, and that is Business Source Premier. So if you're brand new to business, Business Source Premier is a great place to start. Okay, it's an EBSCOhost database, and for off-campus users, as I am at the moment, you hit connect, and they will ask you to sign in with your NetID and password. Excuse me, that is, I've already signed in on this browser, so they know that I'm signed in as a Rutgers user, but you must sign in with your NetID and password in order to get to this version of Business Source Premier. So let's suppose that you are interested in working for Google, and it helps to get rid of the noise if you pick company entity. And you can look up all kinds of things about the business. You could look up Google and marketing, Google and consumers or customers, whatever you want. But we're going to look up just the word industry because we're interested in Google in kind of an industry frame. And we also want to find out what are the words that describe some of the industries that Google is in. Google is at present highly diversified. It's actually in many, many different industries. So this will help give you some breadth. We're going to search. And of course, we have 5,693. Now, let me tell you why we have that few. Because they were limited to from 2000 to 2020. It went back a little farther than that. And I moved the slider. It could also go up as late as 2015 because in this particular industry, everything ages very quickly. Okay, now you're down to 1,396. And I would say for your convenience, you notice some of these are Get It at Rutgers. Can you look at The Economist? Of course you can, but it's going to require a lot of clicks through the Rutgers system. And Get It at Rutgers will take you to the Rutgers system. You may find articles. You may also send away for articles. It should lead you to our interlibrary loan article request module. But if you're just looking very quickly and you want to read a bunch of stuff, you can also just limit to full text. All right, now, what kinds of stuff is in here? Well, we have magazines, we have trade publications, we have industry profiles, and we have some newspapers and some academic journals. So there's a big mix here. You could look at some of these magazines to start. That's a trade mag, CIO Insight. That's a trade mag. And Time International Atlantic Edition, of course, would be a regular magazine. If you wanted to limit to industry profiles, you could certainly do that. But let's take a look at some of these. What do they say about social network company Facebook and internet company? That's rather general, isn't it? Internet company Google use machine learning to analyze users and deliver ads. It's very interesting. So here's a whole article about this, and this is from Chief Information Officer Insight. Okay, what does that look like? You can go right here and get the full text. Might be short, but there it is. Okay, kind of a newsy article about artificial intelligence. Understand this technology, understand its disruptive capabilities. Absolutely. Machine learning ecosystem. Now, what else can you do with this? Well, if you need a citation for some reason, probably don't need one for a job search, but you might need one for some other application, even a business plan or something like that. Here's the APA citation. Here's the Harvard citation, and here's the MLA citation. So all of that's available to you from Business Source Premier. Let's take a look at some of these industry profiles and see what they look like. Acquis Data Industry Snapshot, and this is very new. This is a 2020 software and information technology. So full text, it's a 91-page report. That's interesting. It says pages 1 to 88, then it says 91. Well, it's long. Doesn't matter. Okay. United States Software and Information Technology. So that's right there. Okay. Here's one from last year. Here is a market line industry profile, cloud computing in the United States, and that's from November 2019, full text. You can see that you can get a lot of industry information by starting in Business Source Premier with a company you know, and then just using the word industry. That's our intro to Business Source Premier for job hunters. I'm going to move along now and go to a more traditional industry source. We're going to say goodbye to Business Source Premier. IBISWorld is a great business source. Now, in the current COVID-19 emergency, it's not going to be updated perhaps as often as some other things, but it's a good, solid place to look at the state of the industry before the pandemic. And very shortly, we're going to have updated industry guides from IBISWorld. So let's take a look at IBISWorld. Emphasizes the United States. There are some global reports there, and there are some reports from China because we pay for an extra China module. Let's go to IBISWorld, and once again, connect, and we would be asked to sign in with our NetID and password, but the browser already knows that I'm signed in. Let's continue with our Google example, and let's look for search engines. And here we are, search engines in the US. There are two kinds of reports on this, actually. There is an expert report, which we might take a look at later, and there's an industry report. So this is a standard industry report. It is about the United States. And your navigation panel is right here. In About, they'll give you an industry definition. I'd like to go to the industry at a glance. Here we go. Key statistic snapshot. How big is it? What are some key trends? Smaller players have little incentive to enter the industry. So, but there are new startups that are constantly. They give you a SWOT for the industry, which is a little unusual. Generally, SWOTs are for individual companies or organizations, but they are offering strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's what SWOT stands for. So strengths and weaknesses look inside to the company. Opportunities and threats look outside to the environment. So a SWOT is a very good shortcut way of looking at a situation. So they're applying SWOT to the industry. So strengths and weaknesses in the industry, opportunities and threats from outside the industry. Okay. There's an executive summary. What will the growth be? What has the growth been, I should say? Looks pretty good, right? They are anticipating more growth between now and 2024. And then industry revenues are just going to go up. Okay, what about the industry structure? They tell you all these things. High barriers to entry. That means if you're thinking of getting into the industry, the biggies have it sewn up to an extent, and there will be barriers to lots of competition. Very interesting. They're saying the globalization is low. Concentration level is high, which means fewer companies have more of the market share. Okay, here's some key industry data for you. And the major players. And they mention Alphabet. Alphabet is the parent company of Google. And they're not mentioning anybody else. That's interesting, because when they get to major players, no. I thought they mentioned Microsoft in other places. Now, as a job hunter, you're really interested in this industry outlook. Oh dear. Don't expect as much revenue growth. They mentioned Facebook, they mentioned mobile searching, and emerging applications. And that's what you really want to take a look at before you go for a job interview, because this is the stuff that's expected to happen. Performance data, if you like the numbers, there they are. Things about the industry life cycle, and so on. There's a lot of information in this IBIS World report. We don't need to look at the whole thing. But the basic message is, if you are new to an industry and you really don't know what's going on in it, you can go to IBIS World and you can become familiar with your industry and have something to talk about during your job interview. And you might also get ideas about whether you like the industry or not, whether it interests you or not. Generally, the more you find out about something, the more it interests you. Okay, I'm going to leave IBIS World now, and I'm going to turn the session over to Jonathan. So let me close this. I'm going to stop sharing.
So thank you so much, Bobby, for that introduction. So the next segment of this workshop, what we're going to look at is targeted positions within a particular field. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tag along with what Bobby has mentioned. So if we're looking at tech companies such as Google or Microsoft, maybe we're looking for a particular position in software engineering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a search based on that particular title. From there, I'm going to show you some tricks in terms of understanding where to go to get feedback on particular companies. And what I mean by that is there is a variety of different resources out there that show the different type of feedbacks for companies. So whether it's people who worked at the companies, the pros and cons of it, and etc. And then from there, what I'm going to show you is advanced networking strategies. So the first place we're going to go to is Reference USA. And I'm going to click on Connect. And you will be required to type in your ID and password. So I will do that now. All right. So Reference USA is one of our premier databases that has company information, but they also have job information and internships. This is a very good resource to use when you are searching for a particular position or a job within a particular region. So if I click on the US jobs and internships, and from here, I'm going to click on the advanced search. And the reason why I usually recommend our undergraduate and graduate students to use this, it's because the information for job openings are frequently updated. So if you do a open search on google.com and you're searching for positions, you'll find updated positions. However, some of the positions tend to be old if the employer doesn't take it down within a month or even 2 to 3 months I've seen before. So with Reference USA, what you can do is you can target your search and see openings within the past 7 days, 2 weeks, and etc. So when I click on the advanced search, we are going to look up software. There it goes, software engineer. From here, we can target what type of job we want. So we will click full-time. And what you can do here is the salary estimate. So what we can do is we'll type in a figure. Whether many positions come up or not depends on the company. And the location, let's say 50 miles of New York. So just as an FYI, some of the organizations that you might be targeting may have multiple locations. So Google, for an example, has a location within New York as well as California and other places. So just be mindful of that when you're doing your company research. And let's look at companies within the past 7 days. Let's keep it like that. So it's showing us 6 results, which is okay. This is fine because we're doing a targeted search. So not only did we search a particular job title, we searched within 7 days as well as the salary expectation that we want. And it gave us 6 results. So with this particular concept, I usually tell students it's okay to not get 200 results or 150 results. If you get 6 results, that's fine. When you're doing research, even for positions, in this case, less is more. So I'd rather have 6 targeted positions rather than 120 positions that are from all over the place. So this gives you a sense of what type of positions are out there with these particular titles and the pay grade that you are wanting. So I'm just going to click on this particular position. It's going to redirect us and you can apply immediately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Reference USA. And the common question with Reference USA that I get even from faculty, staff, and students is how frequently do they update their content? As you can see, this is updated today, April 10th, 2020. So you don't have to worry about whether this information is old or not. This information is frequently updated on a daily basis. So that's just the search process for that. Once again, this was a very targeted search. You can put the position of your preference. You can search within a company. So we can just type in Google. And we can expand it. And let's just give a state, California. Click on view results. And none. That's interesting. So not that that comes to a surprise given the circumstances that's been going on with COVID-19. But maybe we might want to search anytime. Different organizations are going to react differently to what's been going on. So let's keep it simple. And let's click view results. And you can see that there is a total of 754 results. And it's actually searching every position within Google. So I'm wondering if we can go back and see if they have any software engineering positions. It's reset, so let's click on anytime. We have our company. And here we go. So this is actually a reasonable amount of results. As you can see, as recent as April 9th of 2020. Really interesting to see these results. And here we go. You can apply directly to this position. So it's really going to depend on how targeted you want to search. So whether you want to search within 5 to 10 miles within a particular location, whether you're targeting a particular company, whether you're just targeting a position or a title, it's really going to depend on you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the research guide. Take a minute. All right, so we're still going to be in the Research Company 1 tab. So the next resource I'm going to show you is Vault Career Intelligence. And it's going to be right here within the same section. We're going to click on Connect. And Vault is a database that has information on companies. They have feedback information. They have a variety of different tools and tips that you can use in order to help you with your resume. It can help you with interviewing. It can help you understand the industry as a whole. And most importantly, it gives you background information based on employees who have worked there. So the difference between the content that you find here at Vault compared to another resource on Google, where you can see some of the comments of employees who have worked there, is Vault goes through a process where it confirms that the employee worked there or has worked there in the past, and it makes sure that all the content more or less has an equal balance of feedback and that it's providing for its users. Because if you go to a particular website that has and feedback from their potential employer, you don't really know what you're getting for the most part. So with Vault, it's making sure that A, it confirms the people who have worked at these organizations, and B, they're making sure that they're having much more of a balanced approach when it comes to just their perceptions of what worked, what didn't work within the organization, and etc. So the first place I want to show you is the search box. So we can look at based on industries, or we can keep it simple and type in the company that we want. So it's showing us a total of 644 results, and we're going to click on the company that we are targeting. If we scroll down here, for the Vault ranking, this is the best internet and social media company within their ranking. And the rankings are collected once again based on former employees as well as current employees. So it's giving us a fair balance of what the work life would be like within Google. So some of the uppers, right? Best in class, perks and benefits. Some of the downers. Company faces increasing threat from younger competitors. And the bottom line, Google hires up to 4,000 employees per year, but receives around 1 million applications. This is something that you want to take into consideration, because I think the perception with some undergraduates and graduates is they're going to go into the workforce and they're going to apply for this position and they're hoping that everything works out without really having a detailed analysis of the company and their odds of getting a position. And what Vault does, it really gives you a firm assessment of your chances of getting a position. And once again, this is going to depend on your qualifications and other things that you have done. So if we click on the Survey Says tab, it's going to give us an overview, so Vault's verdict on their perception of Google, which is really interesting, and the reviews based on people who have worked there. Right? So we can see former employee, and it's really basic. That's one of the things I like about Vault. It's pretty straightforward. So some of the uppers, the downers, and the advice to candidates. So this is, once again, this type of information is difficult to get from valid former employees, and Vault does a fantastic job in collecting this information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll up here, and I want to show you a couple tabs. So with Career Advice tab, you can click on the Resume Tips and Samples. And we can just browse. And they're going to give us some templates that we can view based on different industries. just going to click on there. Once again, we are very lucky to have this resource because you can download these templates based on your field that you're seeking to go in. I'm going to just take a step back. And I'm going to go back to the career advice. They have cover letter advice, interviewing tips and questions, which is an important aspect of this. So I'm going to click on interview tips and questions. And it's broken down by different areas. So I think one of the important things is looking at certain sample interview questions, especially behavioral interview questions that might come up. So a lot of these tell me about one of your weaknesses. And it really gives you a detailed description of kind of the overview of what you should be looking at and more or less how you should approach these particular questions. Traditional interview, finance interview. Once again, if you are going into a finance and you're doing some type of consulting type of aspect, they have a lot of good resources for people who are going to go into finance. They have a variety of different resources, but if you are going into finance, Vault has a lot of good content that will prepare you for interviews as well as resumes and etc. So I want to stick to the career advice tab. So we looked at the interview tips and questions, resume tips and samples. But I wanted to show you the research industries. And this is collected based on them. They have their own Vault rankings. As we can see, if we wanted to click on view all rankings, best industries for MBAs, best industries for undergraduates, fastest growing industries, a really good resource to have. So I'm going to see if we can click on the fastest growing industries. So energy, pharmaceuticals, engineering, information tech, etc. And what we can do is we can click on these particular industries. And once again, the resource here is very simplified, good information in terms of you having an understanding of this particular industry from Vault's perspective, industry outlook, trends and issues, and etc. So you have a variety of different resources that you can use from Vault. And there's so much information that I believe we won't have enough time to get through in Vault. But once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact Bobby or I during any time. So now that we looked at Vault, what I want to show you is not directly on the research guide, but it's from LinkedIn. And this particular strategy is for networking. And this is going to be an important component moving forward. So I'm just going to open up a new tab. And if you don't have a LinkedIn account, my recommendation, please create a LinkedIn account, create a LinkedIn profile. So I am going to sign in. All right. So there is so many resources that you can use with LinkedIn once you create your profile. Since you are a Rutgers student and soon to be an alum, you will still have access to a variety of different resources. But since you're a student now, what you have access to is lynda.com. So LinkedIn brought lynda.com and has integrated it within its system. So if you wanted to learn a particular skill, if you wanted to learn something that's new, if you wanted to learn about how to be better at public speaking, all you would need to do is click on the Learning tab on the right-hand side. It's going to ask me to sign in. And it may ask you for your RU and passcode credentials. But let's say, for an example, we wanted to learn more about public speaking. We can just type in public speaking and it comes up. You can click on it and it'll take you step by step based on this title, Communicating with Confidence. This is a very good resource, and I hope more students continue to use this particular resource. Once again, if you have any questions in regard to this particular resource, feel free to contact us at any time. You can save the particular course. And the good thing about this is if you have to leave, it usually pauses exactly where you left off. So you don't have to worry about starting over again because it stops exactly at the section where you left off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of LinkedIn Learning. Here, not showing me the sign out box, but I will just exit out. So that aspect of using lynda.com for either public speaking or learning a new skill is something essential for anybody. So feel free to click on the Learning tab. But for this particular place, what we're going to use, LinkedIn Learning, is we're going to go to the search box and we're going to click on People. And what we're going to do is we're going to do an advanced search because we want to see how many people work at Google who are Rutgers University alum. So once we click on the search box, we're going to click on All Filters. And maybe we want to look at the greater New York City area. We can choose the company of our preference. And let's choose Rutgers University. And for that matter, we should just choose Rutgers University in general. So now that we targeted the location that we're looking for, the company, and the school of people who have graduated from Rutgers University, we can do so. We can do it based on services. We can do it based on industry, and etc. So I'm going to click on Apply. And it's actually showing 200 plus results of people who either have a Rutgers degree or is a Rutgers alum that work for Google. So if we scroll down, it's going to show this particular person is working at as a software engineer for 7 years. They graduated with a computer science degree, and you could always connect. Here's the pros and cons to this. This is a indirect way of networking with people who have graduated from Rutgers University at a targeted company or position. If you encounter, let's say, a VP for a particular company and you connect with them, I'm not sure if you'll be getting much communication with them because of the level that they're at within this particular organization. I'm not sure how many times a VP is going to be connecting with anybody, but I think it's important to connect with people on LinkedIn because if you see a large number of Rutgers alum working at a particular organization, you know for a fact that your odds of getting a position may be slightly higher than others, if that makes sense. It doesn't guarantee you a position, but you're knowing for a fact that Rutgers University alum are getting positions within this particular company that you want to work for. So this is a good way to not only network with people who work within a position, but it gives you an understanding of your chances of getting a position or the possibility of getting it. Once again, that does not guarantee that you'll get the position, but it gives you an understanding. So that's one way of networking through LinkedIn. I'm going to sign off here. And the next strategy that I want to show you in terms of networking is a simple Google search on software engineering and association. So what we're going to do is we are going to keep it simple. Software engineers. I'm going to put this in quotation so it searches it as a single term. I'm going to put the Boolean operator and I'm going to type in association. And it's going to show me a list of different associations. So just to let you know, the association strategy works for just about any field. There's an association for just about any title and any position. And this is a good way to network with other peers as well as other organizations, and it may increase your chances of finding a job. So we can look at a variety of different associations. We can click on this one as an example. And let's see, giving us an overview of this particular association, but I don't see membership information. So I'm going to back out of here. And this might be a process for you as you continue to look for associations in your particular area. US workshops, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a big learning community as well. Some of the resources, getting involved. So my recommendation for students, whether you're an undergraduate or graduate, is join the associations now, because some of these associations are very expensive in terms of their membership fees. However, if you join as a student, there's usually a lot of different discounts and incentives to join these associations. So once again, find your targeted association by doing a search. Just a simple search. And then just browse around to have more or less of a firm understanding of what fits for you. You could always contact them during any time. And once again, this is a great way to meet people that have the same interests in your profession as well as your field. I recommend it for any student going to any field, any industry. And once again, if you have any questions in regards to whether association is credible or not credible, you can always contact us at any time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my PowerPoint presentation. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. If you have any questions in regards to anything that was said, please feel free to contact me or Bobby at jonathan.torres@rutgers.edu or bobby@tipton@rutgers.edu. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.